Discord Degenerates podcast. We make your bells jingle. You filthy fucking elves. Discord Degenerates podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Discord Degenerates podcast. This is episode 2, technically. What is shocking is there's actually a lost media episode of this podcast. About an hour of unused content that was unfortunately lost to the tech gods. So we talked about a variety of different topics for that episode. It was a good episode. I'm very sad it's lost. Basically, if you guys just want to run down, we talked about like major religions, religious values, social media platforms, and streaming services, like charging extra for everything, and the consequences of that for the companies and the consumer. We talked about a bit about short form content and brain rot. Talked about Toby sucking dick. Talked about the NASA space tomato. That was a wacky one. And I think that's about it. Oh, and about Bollywood. Yeah. Did I miss something, or was that it?
No, that's it.
Okay, good.
That's it, yeah.
There also may or may not be about 12 unreleased episodes that are never going to see the light of day for legal reasons, but I'm going to get into that later.
Because, let me just clarify on that. So basically, Dr. Meth had an schizophrenic episode and fucking fired me and Toby temporarily and recorded 9 fucking episodes with his inner voices.
Yeah,
That's what really happened.
yeah. I wish.
Yeah.
I wish that was what happened, but close enough, bro. Anyway, enough
Yeah.
about that. Do you guys have any topics you desperately want to get into, or do you want me to kickstart this?
If I may, this is actually the Christmas special episode because it is Christmas in our time zone right now. It's the 24th, technically. It's the morning of the
It
24th.
is Christmas
It's
Eve.
24th here as well.
Christmas Eve. Yeah, so Merry Christmas to everyone. This is probably gonna get released like, I don't know, maybe on Christmas Day, even, if we're being generous.
What's the difference between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day?
Christmas Day is the day that Jesus was born. Christmas Eve is
And
the
Eve?
day before Jesus was born. That's really it. There's no like significance to Christmas Eve. No like
Yes, of course.
religious fucking significance. That kind of brings me something I want to talk about, but maybe we should say that for later.
Happy Christmas, y'all.
Thank you. You as
Happy
well.
Hanukkah. And whatever the one other holidays, there are 3 of them. Hallelujah or some shit, I don't remember.
Hey, okay. So apparently, recently, there was a thing, this was 2 days ago, where there was an 18-year-old hacker from, I think, America, who exposed some files and information about GTA 6.
Yep, that was a
And
while ago.
he got a life sentence, and he got immediately put into a mental hospital because his mental state went down so much that it was a danger to himself and everyone
No.
else.
Well,
So
he got. I want to talk about that actually. Also, well, he got a life sentence in the mental institution. They locked him up for life, claiming that he was a threat, which is very fucked up. You know, it's not hard to understand what happened there. Fucking mega corporation. Men in Black, the motherfucker. They actually just said, yeah, he's crazy. Look him up. You know, it really says something about how much power you have when you're that big of a company. You can just do whatever you want. Obviously, there's going to be no consequences, but you know the fact that they had a legal team so prestigious, they had so much money that they could just claim he was, you know, a weirdo, a wacko, even fucking psychopath, and they could just lock him up for good. That was the coldest, most brutal fucking revenge story I've ever seen, and it was all for leaking a couple files, which is not surprising. But yeah, I don't stand by them at all in that decision. I would counter sue if I could. It's not possible, unfortunately. Anyways, do you have any differing opinions, or do you think it was justified, or that they put him in the mental hospital?
Mm, no, I don't
I
think
just
it was justified.
Was the Matrix at
it
work?
wasn't fucking. It's not fucking justified. And what's fucking weird is that companies like Glaxo, Pfizer, and all those fucking retards, they kill fucking millions of people every year
Yep.
by falsifying facts about the medicines and just get a fucking slap on the wrist by telling them to pay a small part of their profits as fine, not gross income, profit. So they don't
Yep.
go fucking bankrupt. So it's just so fucking corrupt that it's fucking funny to me that a kid fucking reviews some documents and you give him a life fucking sentence, and a corporate fucking kills thousands, if not millions of people, and you just give him a fucking slap on the wrist and say, "Hey, well, it's fine. It was a mistake." Nah, there was no one jailed in that instance. It's so fucking wild to me.
It's an 18-year-old kid, and they put him in a mental hospital for his whole life, just claiming that he has to be crazy. He licked GTA.
Imagine, yeah, imagine someone fucking dying, and then God is telling you, "What did you do in your life?" And he's like, "Oh no, gee, I just leaked some files, and then oh no, I was on drugs for the rest of my life, strapped to a fucking bed."
They're gonna put him on drugs for the rest of his life. That's the thing. They fucking
Yeah,
matrix the shit out of him, put him in a mental hospital.
he's
Now
gonna be a living.
they're gonna
You
pump him
know
full
what the
of
worst
drugs.
part? The
Oh,
worst part is that a lot of those drugs used in the West are addictive in nature. So even if he gets out of there on bail, or if they deem him mentally fit, he won't be the same. He'll just be a walking vegetable. He will not. He will never recover his former mental prowess or anything that any of the mental capacity that he had in the past. He'll just be a fucking. He'll be a fucked up person and shit like that. Just a fucking druggie.
that's the United States for you. It's a corrupt hellhole that keeps up a front of being the cornerstone of Western culture. So perfect. This is what these companies do over there. They can do whatever they want. There's no consequences for them, because it's obviously very easy to frame this kid as the aggressor in this situation, which he is not. He's just a kid. Anyways, there was also another major game studio leak, which was the Insomnia Games leak, which is the studio that makes the Spider-Man games, which are fucking coded, by the way. And they released a whole bunch of models and shit from their very unfinished games, and these retarded people that are the public and Reddit, fucking Redditors, they
I
they
fucking
they
I
started
fucking
chilling
like how
on the
you don't
game.
even fucking counter it as people.
Mm, yeah, that's
They
true.
aren't even fucking yeah, they aren't even a part of the general public according to Matthias Meth. He just thinks of him as I don't know, fucking trash. And the funny thing is, Meth himself is something of an redditor.
Well, I am not, definitely, but I can see where that would come from, because I am a 4chaner, but not a redditor, which is
Four
almost the
channel,
same thing, but not quite.
four channels is fucking wild. They're fucking a lot. How do I say it? Redditors lie a lot more. Four channels are just fucking weird. They should all be fucking locked up in a mental institution from what I'm aware about. They all just have too much free time on their hands.
Yeah, that's what
Like,
the power should be used for. Anyways, the Insomnia game situation is weird, because there were no consequences, at least yet, for the hackers. They were not paid the ransom money, so they leaked this unfinished footage. Now, what Insomnia Games didn't know what would happen is these Redditors, they started shitting on the obviously unfinished beta footage, and saying that the games look bad, which is so retarded, because they've been probably making it for a week at this point. Anyways, that's just what they think. That's the average IQ of a Redditor, I guess. Which kind of reminds
Redditors are
me.
wild.
Yeah, go ahead.
Remember that one time that they fucking got someone jailed for some of their theory, and a year or so after that, it was proved that they were fucking wrong.
That happens a lot. That happens
Yeah, I don't
way
remember
more than you think.
Yeah, I don't remember
Oh,
the specifics,
talking
but it was so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's
Predators
horrifying.
make
talking
everything they say
about
sound so smart, but it's the equivalent of someone on drugs just fucking spewing shit.
yeah,
Yeah,
talking about court. Um, this happened a while ago. I think it was about a week or maybe a week and a half ago, but like Epic Games and Google had a court battle, and Epic Games won the court battle, which was uh, a very unlikely, at least in my opinion, quite an unlikely ending. But yeah,
What was it
Google
about?
basically, what?
What was it about?
Well, it was because Epic Games sued Google because they said that they had an app store monopoly, which means that Google was permitted to sell or like give most of the. Yeah, it took 3 years basically. They settled out of court with Apple already, as you know. Fortnite got removed off the Apple App Store, but it was kept on the Google App Store because they still had the fight going. But
Yep.
the jury said that basically Google has an unfair advantage when it comes to App Store monopolies because Epic Games have their own App Store and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Man, I love that. I
because
love it when Google gets disrespected like that, put in their place. That's
the
an
thing
actual
yeah,
is,
mega
it was
corporation.
because they only basically offer officially one source where you can download all of your apps, games, etc. Like Apple, you can't download apps on an iPhone from any other service than App Store. And same for Android phones, basically. You can't officially download anything if it isn't off the Play Store. And it's unfair because some stuff can be offered for free on other websites, and then it would cost you something on the Play Store.
Yep.
So that's why they got sued.
Right. I
the
kind of commend Epic Games for that.
basically, so yeah, I've got a role, but yeah, it was a nice episode. I'll join you all later. I've got some shit to do, sadly.
Okay. We'll
Sorry
keep
for
it up.
the
We'll keep it
sudden
going.
exit. Yeah, keep it going. Alright, bye.
All right. See ya, man.
Alright.
Yeah, the Napoleon movie came out. Did you see that?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I was thinking about going to see it with a friend of mine, perhaps
Yep.
around this time, because I have movie tickets and they expire on 1st of January, unfortunately.
Ah,
So I was
that's tough.
thinking that it was either going to be Napoleon or then the Wonka movie. And in a way, this is sort of like Oppenheimer versus Barbie 2,
Yeah,
except
yeah.
that the release dates were different, but it's still like two very different movies getting released in the same span of time, and people are deciding which one to watch, right?
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about Oppenheimer in regards to the Napoleon movie. It kind of made me realize that there's a kind of a naming trend going on for these biographical movies nowadays. You could predict that it was just going to be called Napoleon because that's
Yeah.
what they're going for these days. It's always just the surname or whatever. It's just one name of the person in this whole dramatic ass font. It's also happened with fictional movies like the Han Solo movie and the Joker movie and whatever. But anyways, it's mostly biographical movies that are just named like you have Oppenheimer, obviously, Napoleon. You have Ferrari, Elvis, Hamilton, Lincoln, Tolkien. It's a whole bunch of movies with the same like naming convention nowadays. You could almost predict the names for these biographical movies. I don't know, maybe it's like
Yeah.
dramatic or whatever.
There's no more
There's no more like Wolf of Wall Street or
yeah. No.
or those, or
There's no more stuff like Breaking Two,
yeah,
Electric Boogaloo. Stuff isn't named like that anymore. It's just one word. If not that, then a person's name. We have Oppenheimer. We have Barbie. We have Napoleon. We have Wonka. We have fucking I don't know what's coming next. Probably like I don't know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If they decide to do one off of one of the
hmm
kind of characters, it's gonna be called like fucking Splinter or something.
yeah. Maybe it's not even biographical movies. It's just origin stories. You know, if there's a Darth Vader movie, it would just be called Vader, I guess.
Oh
Personally,
yeah,
I'm just waiting for the World War II movie that's just called Adolf. That would be a good one.
or just called Hitler.
Adolf would be better. It's this innocent, innocent ass sounding name. He was
Yeah,
innocent though. Let's get that. Let's get that out there. I'm kidding.
yeah.
I'm
He
kidding.
definitely was not. He committed major genocide. Either way,
Who doesn't?
looking at the movies on offer at the local movie theater, doesn't
Yep.
seem like there are a lot of ones that are actually interesting.
Yeah.
Like there's Wonka,
Yeah.
Napoleon, uh, Dead Leaves, which is a Finnish movie,
That's a good
the
one.
Hunger Games movie. That one actually had a good name because it was longer than just the Hunger Games because they
Yeah.
already did that, obviously.
Yeah. No, they all had some other name except the first one. I no, that was I don't remember. Anyways, but yeah, they don't make interesting movies nowadays. I mean that list you provided, I think that that was actually a bunch of ones that I'd like to see, but not necessarily very good movies. I like to hate watch or just watch out of obligation, like the Marvel movies. They're not good films, but I still watch every one just out of tradition, and I kind of want to see how bad it gets. But you know, they're absolutely horrible films in my opinion, except Guardians of the Galaxy. That one I liked.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is really fucking good. All
Yeah,
three of them.
it's actually a good movie. All three movies.
Yeah. Anyways, talking about movies, I wanted to talk about the new Aquaman movie, which is also on the list here.
Oh man,
And it's kind of controversial right now,
yeah, it's a
because
whole
of
garbage
Amber
fire.
Heard.
Yeah,
It's going to be awful. And I personally will not watch it. I already was sort of on edge when I had to watch the Flash movie, but that was because I went to see it with my father. It wasn't that good, and I wouldn't recommend anyone watch it if they already haven't. Uh,
yep.
but yeah, I personally would like to watch Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom just because I want to see how shit it is.
Yeah, I mean they obviously they had to reduce Amber Heard's role for that movie. It was a whole marketing disaster, like the Flash movie was. But you know they didn't learn their lesson and they released it anyways. But they had to obviously reduce Amber Heard's role. I think they edited out most of her scenes. She's just in one or two scenes. That obviously affects the quality of the movie, which is kind of sad that you have to have these big name actors. You can't recast or anything, and real life situations affect the quality of film. Although it was never going to be a good movie, let's be honest. But still,
Yeah.
it's sad. They did the same thing with Marvel. They had actually a good character and a good actor for once. Jonathan Majors, who was playing the main villain of the MCU, he recently got charged with assaulting his ex-girlfriend. So they just fired him on the spot. Now they're going to have to rewrite the whole cinematic universe because these contracts is the problem. They're fucking retarded because he had a clause in his contract that no one else could play the character, and then he got fired. So they're just going to have to write him out now.
Yeah. Uh, it sort of sucks how if if um if somebody does something and like the movie's already far enough in progress and the actor or actress doesn't want to get out of the movie company can't do anything about it. All they can do is maybe fire the actor or actress after some time, But it was unfair in the case of like Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. They fired Johnny immediately because he was the subject of possible like accusations. And when he was found innocent, Disney already like called him up instantly and said, "Yeah, we want you to do a new movie." And obviously he refused because it was unfair to him that he got fired immediately.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, that's the sad part. That's the sad part. You obviously lose your entire career in that situation, but still, they're keeping Ezra Miller in the Flash movie. They're keeping Amber Heard in the Aquaman movies. But Johnny Depp, because he didn't have any like major movie currently being filmed. But still, I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't have kept him in the Pirates movies or whatever. I don't know. And the situation seemed kind of unfair for him because these other actors who do terrible things, they still get to at least do that one movie that they're
Actually,
doing right now.
actually, Johnny Depp was in the process of filming a movie, the Fantastic Beast movie, where he got replaced
Oh
by
yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen. Uh,
Oh yeah, that's
there
true.
was a whole
Yeah.
there was a whole story on why he changed how he looked. I think it
Yep.
was something like he got blasted in the face and he had to like change his appearance or something. But it
Yep.
was fucking stupid.
No, they didn't explain that one. I saw it, but the franchise failed without him. They canceled it completely.
And well, about the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, um, they were supposed to make a new one, like I think sometime mid last year, but there was the whole misconduction thing, so they couldn't do it.
Not pretty much. Pretty much. Um, Something I wanted to bring up while Dirwest was here was because I wanted to get his thoughts on this, but I just want to let you know now that he's gone. Apparently, the Indian government recently said that they're ready to look into an alleged plot to kill a Sikh separatist I mean on behalf of the government, I guess. Which is an interesting situation. I didn't look that far into it, but I personally suspect Dirwest of being involved in this plot in some way.
Yeah, I'm just looking at. Oh my days! It looks like United States are saying that India cannot do this.
Holy shit! Okay,
Yeah,
shocker.
yeah. The
Here we
US
go
is
again with
treating
the
a plot
states.
with utmost seriousness and has raised the issue with the Indian government at the senior most levels. Um,
Hmm.
it looks like um, it looks like the United States is actually kind of against this plot from India.
No, they just don't want them to look into it. I wonder why.
Yeah, it says here that they have warned the Indian government about this issue that it shouldn't he shouldn't be, murdered.
Oh,
I guess it makes sense, but like if he has done something like fucking bombed a building or something, I mean, the place where he's from, I would say um they're the most what the fuck is the word? They're the most capable of working with such a situation. A
I don't
government
think
with
so.
no.
I don't think so. I think there's a conflict of interest. There's a reason the Indian government didn't look into it before. Now they're avoiding responsibility, basically. I thought what you were saying is that the states is kind of also trying to keep it under wraps, but I guess W America for once. Of course, when it's not about the West, they get involved. and make a statement.
Yeah, but like still, they should have been more sort of concerned for
Yeah, I guess.
the issue.
Yeah, I guess so. Guess so.
All right, we are back on Dr.
Yep.
Meth and Toby.
Thank you to our lovely sponsors for that segment. Uh, anyways, what I was going to say is that there's been a lot of stuff going on locally in the homeland also. That is Finland, in case someone forgot. It's much less political in nature, unless you want to make it that way. But apparently, a Finnish man recently jerked off in front of a grocery store and was fined 390 euros for this endeavor, but not he wasn't incarcerated or anything. And when the cops caught him, he said that it was a dare from his wife to masturbate in front of this grocery store. This was actually in Valkeakoski, which you are quite familiar with.
I actually had not heard of this news, but that is certainly an interesting feat of a
Yep.
little piece of information. Also, that reminded me that there was a person who was incarcerated for urinating on like a pallet of beer, and he was
Yep.
fined like over 2,000 euros for that because he essentially ruined a very large amount of beer. And I think he wasn't even allowed to keep any of the beer that he peed on. So
Was this in Finland? Yeah, it was. Yeah, I know the story.
it was
Yeah,
in Finland.
that is not the worst part, that he couldn't keep the beer. Kind of a hot take, but I think the real problem is that they didn't sell the beer because it was on closed cans. There was no contamination of the product. They could have easily cleaned the cans and sold them. As always, the only problem is that since this story broke, I think it's kind of an ick for people to buy cans of beer that they know could have been peed on by some degenerate slash madman. But I don't think it's actually a problem. I think it's a shame that that the store wasted a lot of valuable product, as we can apparently afford to do in the West. Uh, yeah, I mean, I still would have drunk the beer if the cans had been cleaned. It's just a mental thing mostly because we're so soft nowadays.
That's not the worst part. The worst part is that the store in question spent I think it was amount of like 500 euros or something to pay a professional like a toxic or hazard cleaning company to come package the beer in multiple different like layers of plastic and then take it out for it to be like incinerated or something. Like,
Oh man,
yeah, exactly. I don't think that that company specifically even recycled any of the cans. Like, you could have recycled them. You could have gotten like
just
fun
a waste.
from them. Yeah,
It's a huge,
it's a huge waste.
it's an enormous waste and very unwarranted. They
Yes,
could have easily just cleaned the cans and sold them, but I guess it's gonna be a problem for people. Anyways, a lot of stuff been going on in Finland recently. Probably because people go a little crazy at Christmas time, which is supposed to be a peaceful holiday. This is not a very traditional story of people going crazy at Christmas, but actually more of a story of an entrepreneur with a very very excellent head for business. There was a Finnish car salesman who unfortunately lost a customer to another car shop, and he got so mad that he he disguised himself as a bailiff, and he went to the other shop trying to put it out of business by threatening them with legal action, saying that they're I don't know, they were skipping taxes or something, which didn't work. Just to be clear, it was he was caught immediately. But I kind of have to commend that man. He has a head for business.
That's also something that I haven't really seen in the news. It's mostly that stuff like this, they end up in a niche news, and mostly we like to unfortunately focus on like politics that have nothing to do with us technically. Like if I go to the front page of Iltalehti, which is a pretty big newspaper here in Finland, we have people who are in trouble in Mexico, Iran and Sweden,
Ukraine war.
Putin, how Ukrainian hryvnia has inflated, something about sex, hotel breakfasts. Then there's a lot of stuff about Donald Trump and Putin, and about Riikka Purra, who's our I don't know, minister of
something.
Something. She unfortunately holds quite an important position, from what I've gathered in the.
No, she's a fucking degenerate.
She is absolutely horrible.
Fucking hater.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I know where you're getting at. It's mostly all foreign politics. Right now, a bit of local politics also, because we have a presidential election coming up, which I tried to run for. I tried to run for office, but they wouldn't let me, because apparently
you have to be at least 25.
Is that actually
yeah,
one of the
it's
qualifications?
None of the stuff. You can technically become a president at 0. Like, you can technically become a presidential candidate at 1 seconds old, but there are like sort of semi non-enforced regulations. Like, there are suggestions. You should be over 25. You should have gone to college. You should have, studied economy and politics and stuff in university and stuff like that. But none of it is enforced. Like, you could technically run for president having no education, being like 4 years old, etc.
Those are expectations. Yeah, but about the law, I was more thinking that's what stopped me. Not because I was too young, but because you apparently need, if you're not running through a party, you need the endorsement of 20,000 people to be able to run, which was a surprise to me. I thought I could just do it, but apparently it wouldn't work, because they like to get all the candidates together immediately for interviews, talk shows, and shit. And if there were like 5 million people running for office, then that maybe wouldn't work. I disagree with that system, because you could easily just, if you want to interview them on television, you could easily just take the more high-profile candidates, and the rest would be responsible for their own marketing. But apparently we're not a democracy, so I couldn't run. And I think that's a shame. I would be a great president.
Yeah, well, that sucks. Finland is way too socialist, I think, in certain aspects. But also sort of very leftist. Like, for instance, the government we have is, right wing. Sorry, the government we have right now is very right wing. Our president is in the National Coalition Party. Our prime minister is in the National Coalition Party, and there are a lot of very high level positions being held by right wing people. And personally, I don't like it. As a radical leftist, I disagree with a lot of the things that they themselves agree on, but I could never see, which is definitely why I hope that either Lee Anderson or what was his name? Pekka something becomes a president.
Haavisto.
Yeah, Haavisto.
Yeah.
but it's looking more like Alexander Stubb is going to be the next president. I mean, he has the biggest like approvance ratings already and stuff like that.
I wouldn't mind Stubb. I was watching a lot of interviews from him recently. He seemed like a pretty level-headed and like a very in tune with foreign politics uh, potential president, and he had very sort of understandable takes and values on a lot of stuff. Even my mom, who is very much a radical leftist, said that she would consider voting for him if no better candidates were what the fuck what is on the second round, I guess.
Yeah,
And she wouldn't mind it. But the thing with I mean, I'm pretty center, but I stand more on the left in certain economical issues and or economic. I don't know which one applies here, but there's kind of a crisis going on because of the severance of what's the word in English? Like benefits, I
yeah,
guess.
benefits, exactly, benefits.
They're cutting back on those. That's kind of affecting me personally because I am a student. But the problem with Stubb is that he regularly has in the past cut down on the benefits on student benefits and unemployment benefits and all that after specifically promising not to do that. So I don't quite trust him in some aspects, but I think he's taken more of a hard line and a more I guess left leaning line in regards to that because education is a very primary value of his, and also he's very in tune with foreign politics, very involved with probably out of all our currently elected politicians, he's the most willing to communicate with foreign nations and their representatives. He's very involved in the UN and all that. I have to commend him for that, but he certainly wouldn't be the best candidate. I don't think people like Lee Anderson would either. I think that's kind of a wasted vote, in my opinion. But it just goes to show that there are no candidates that people like me actually want to see running this country. I would probably vote for Haavisto if he had any sort of chance. I don't quite agree with him on a lot of issues, but I think the most important thing is that I get my fucking money back at this point. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm voting left.
the thing is, Stubb would be a very good president. I'm not going to deny that. He would be a good president. The problem is he is from a rich Finnish Swedish family and he has never like felt what it's like to be poor. He has always had money. He has always had he hasn't had to rely on benefits and stuff like that
That's true.
to
Yeah.
live his life. He has gone to private school. He has I don't know, fucking probably gotten into universities and stuff for free because I think his dad might have been like a president. No, sorry, not president, professor at like a university or something. And he has
Mhm.
had a lot of money in his life. Now, if it was like, if upper secondary school was still not 100% free or cost something, I don't know if I would definitely probably have more motivation to study, but it would take away some of the obviously costs money and
Yeah,
stuff
it
like
would
that.
be expensive. Yeah, the thing with Stubb is you're right. He comes from a very privileged background, but in principle, he is a self-made man. He's very highly educated and very he has a good he's very motivated on a lot of fronts. And about seeing the struggle, I don't think he's necessarily lived in in like very poor conditions ever, but he's definitely seen them around the world. He travels a lot. He's made a point of understanding the different conditions around the world, not just in Finland, so he can sort of apply that to local politics here, which hasn't always happened. But if he sticks to what his campaign is currently advocating for, then I think he would be a fine president, probably.
Yeah, no, I have to correct. His father was not indeed a professor. His father was a, hockey coach, but still, they had a lot
Oh,
of money. For
yeah,
instance, Stubb has spent he studied during his high school years. He studied in Florida, which is a very
yeah.
costly thing to do. I was going to go to an exchange program myself, but upon learning that it was 15,000 euros, I decided not to go. And yeah, he also apparently went to the same upper secondary school which my stepmother went to, but it is a private school and it's very expensive.
Oh fuck! I turn on my fucking camera. I turn this shit up. Is it on or am I tripping?
Yeah, it's not on.
Okay, it's showing up for me. But that's good. Think I'm guess I'm gonna be looking at my own face for the rest of the episode then, because I can't turn this off. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know if any of the candidates would suit my interests particularly, because I'm sort of a hypocrite and very center. Anyways, have you been keeping up with Chris Chan?
Actually, I've never followed Chris Chan because I didn't know of their existence until like 2020 when I joined TikTok permanently.
Oh,
So Chris Chan has
that's
never
a
been
shame.
really a topic that I've been speaking of. I know that they are a very deranged person and have done some very highly illegal things, and I in no way like them, but I don't think anyone does, so that's a good thing.
They are the original internet degenerate. I'd love to give you a rundown on the things that Chris Chan has done, but I've seen this done on a lot of podcasts, and they never really do the story justice, because there's such a vast lore spanning probably 30 years of content from Chris Chan. I really couldn't even give you the notes, the basic note. What is it? The footnotes, because there's just so much stuff that you would need to know to fully understand Chris Chan as a phenomenon. But I implore you to watch. There's a documentary that is, I think, 82 parts right now. It's very long, but it's very interesting. If you could just even watch the first, I don't know, 40 episodes or something, you would get a very good idea of what Chris Chan has been up to, and the various trolling sagas that have occurred in their life. But yeah, the more recent thing, which is still 2 years old, is that they raped their mom and went to jail for it. But they were recently released and are now back to releasing new content. But they are absolutely over medicated on every drug imaginable, because they're also staying at a mental hospital or were, and there's not a lot of content being released. But that's one guest that I would love to have on this podcast. That is the ace degenerate. Not not what is it? Not necessarily a Discord degenerate, but still an online degenerate. Nonetheless, I would love to have Chris Chan on the podcast.
That would be a good idea. But on the other hand, I'm pretty sure that they are under pretty heavy
Restrictions,
what?
restrictions, maybe.
Yeah, pretty heavy restrictions, first of all. Second of all, they're probably under surveillance. They probably have
Yeah,
some sort of person who does all of the like shopping and stuff like that for them. Like for instance, my aunt, she has schizophrenia, but that's not relevant to this. She has a person who handles her money. She has somebody who comes to check up on her every day. She has a cleaning lady who comes like every Thursday or something, stuff like that. She's under constant surveillance because she can't like do any monetary purchases on her own because she would spend all of her money immediately, and
Yep.
stuff like that. So she has like people to handle almost every aspect of her life. She does have freedom to do stuff, but still, like for instance, if you try to invite her to be a guest on this podcast, you probably couldn't because she most likely has a person who handles her personal like stuff for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well, the
think
weird thing.
Christian could have the same thing.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing about the Christian situation is that for a person who is notorious for oversharing every single aspect of their life for decades at this point online, they're actually the most documented person in history, I think, behind Adolf Hitler. But the thing is that for such person, there is an overwhelming lack of details being released about their situation right now, which is very unheard of. But for the information that has been gathered, apparently there are some caretakers that are handling their I think financial situation and all that, but they are quite free to release content online without much restrictions. Apparently, they also bagged a girlfriend from the mental institution that they were locked up at. So that's
That's the good thing about
interesting.
mental institutions is to always find a girlfriend from one of those, or a significant other. For instance, I was at a mental institution for about, I think it was about a month, and I already bagged like basically a girlfriend from there. I was like probably 12 or 11 at the time still, so it wasn't a serious relationship or anything like that, but we got to know each other pretty
Hmm.
well during that time, and it obviously didn't last because it doesn't last, but still.
I think there's a conversation to be had there. I mean, obviously, even people with mental handicaps or issues should, of course, be allowed to have meaningful relationships with like-minded people. But there's also a bit of a downside when you gather these people with some sort of history of violence or other sort of degenerate behavior in one room, and you let them go wild at it. There's been cases of mentally deranged people in relationships who have since been released from institutions and gone on to do some absolutely horrible situations because they've enabled each other's psychosis. Are you familiar with Heaven's Gate?
Yes, I am familiar in Heaven's Gate. I did a presentation on Heaven's Gate uh in, I think it might have been psychology class one time.
Yeah. So you know the story, and kind of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah,
That's a story of
basically.
two heavily mentally ill people with tendency for psychosis, just enabling each other to the point that they made 30 people kill themselves.
Yeah. And some of them, I think there was a few people who didn't do it, and listening to their stories, it was interesting. I might
Yeah, they
be
had a.
wrong, but I think there was at least like two people who survived.
Mhm. Yeah.
And what they told was interesting. Obviously, they do have mental disorders, one or maybe multiple of them, but still, their
Probably
experiences
all of
were
them to some extent.
interesting.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's a
here's
it's
a
a very
topic.
interesting case. Yep.
So this one is probably for the Finnish people because I'm not sure that this is probably not national, like international news, but Milan Juff, you know who he is.
Yep.
He was recently to be interviewed by this interviewer on her show, and
Mhm.
the segment, well, the entire episode was cut off, and there was basically no reason to do this. I mean, Milan Jov is a child abuser and a sexual predator, which is why he is in prison at the moment. He also has, I think, stabbed people and done other notorious crimes. But it was cut because the producers thought that it would be too heavy, even though the show has shown people injecting heroin into their veins very openly, and like smoking cannabis and stuff like that. That other stuff that is incriminating. But so a human rights activist named Ujuni Ahmed has like gotten really upset about this because she feels like every people have freedom of speech, and the cutting of this episode where Joff tells about his experiences both out in and out of prison and what he has done. Do you think it was unjustified for them to cut this, or do you think it was justified?
I don't think it was justified. I think, you know, even with these sort of people who have done heinous things, these are still stories that should be heard, that people want to hear. I think the concern is that if people hear about these things, that they're gonna start sympathizing with these people, and certainly there's some people who are going to react like that, but still, I think I'm not a huge fan of censorship online or in media in general, and I think that these are stories that should be heard just because simply because they're interesting stories, but also because it's a very very valuable resource. It's the same reason why psychologists like to study violent offenders, serial killers, and all that. It provides a very valuable outlook into the psychology of criminal behavior and how to prevent it in the future. But also, it's not that deep. I kind of just wanna hear what they have to say, because it's entertaining when these deranged people talk about their lives and all that. So yeah, I don't think there would be a huge downside to letting Milan, spit, hook even.
Yeah, I mean, considering that the show has shown crimes being committed,
Yeah.
such as there was a scene I watched the specific episode of the show where people did heroin. There was also open, like they showed the sales process of the heroin. There was the person who was going out there to buy it, and then the whole scene was shown where the person bought heroin from someone else, was shown, and it was not like fabricated. It was real. It was happening. And then
Yeah.
they went back to the person's house, and she did the heroin, and it was shown all on TV. And I honestly would find it interesting to hear Milan's story, because a lot of it has, some of it, like I feel like isn't totally heard as true.
Yeah, it's information that people have a right to know, and that's the thing with all the stuff that you mentioned that's been shown on air previously. These are things that happen, and it's ridiculous to censor media to sort of pretend that it's something that doesn't happen. Obviously, horrible things go on in the world. People do horrible things. There are a lot of wild degenerates out there, and it's ridiculous to sort of try and pretend that it's something that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's things that we should know about.
Yeah. Do you have any other topics? I have one, but I was thinking I could get
Yep.
into it later.
Yeah. Did you see the Dream apology video?
Yeah, that was total bullshit.
I don't think so.
I mean, he did have good points, but
Yeah, I'm gonna give you or the viewers or the listeners a rundown real quick. So basically, Dream, the Minecraft YouTuber, the notorious Minecraft YouTuber, recently released I think 2-hour video addressing every controversy they've ever been accused in, these grooming allegations and all that. I think the reason why I have to kind of lean on Dream's side on this is that most of these allegations were, to begin with, completely retarded and unfounded, and there was no evidence for them. It was just very obviously cloud chasers going after the biggest influencer in talks at the moment, who they knew would be affected by it in today's culture, which is deranged. But the problem with the video is that the stuff that I actually dislike him for, which is not that he's an alleged pedophile or groomer or something, because that's obviously not true, and he made that very clear, and he addressed it very well. But the things that just the milder stuff that he's just very weird and annoying and damaging personality, that he kind of glossed over. He didn't quite understand it and didn't address it well. But yeah, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, well, I've never liked him, but it isn't because of the allegations.
Yeah.
I honestly sort of glossed over most of that stuff because I'm not interested in most celebrities in such ways. Like I do try to keep up sort of like what's going on with other people. Yeah. I mean, some of those might have been false. Most of them were probably false, but I think some of the allegations might have been sort of realish or truthish.
The grooming allegations, there was never any evidence for, and Dream provided a whole plethora of evidence for them not being true. These were all degenerates, Twitter degenerates who were making accusations towards him, even never having interacted with the Dream or having interacted with them in a very limited capacity, and then being mad that they didn't develop this whole parasocial relationship with them, so they wanted to take revenge and take him down. And the meat of the video was these grooming allegations, and I think he addressed them very well. I don't think that was bullshit. There's other stuff, like when he calls his fans his kittens, or enforces parasocial relationships, or is just a fucking weirdo. I think that wasn't addressed very well. And I still don't like him, but he is not a pedophile.
Yeah, that he isn't really. Okay, so I'm browsing news because I don't really have many topics to address. Recently, I think it was last night, I read some news about there being a sort of clique where people develop these like parasocial relationships to K-pop group members. And there was a very interesting article on Helsingin Sanomat, which is like I think, is it the biggest newspaper, or is like
it's the biggest one, yeah.
Yeah. In the biggest newspaper of Finland, about this German person who went to Korea to approach Nayeon, which is the I think lead singer of the K-pop group Twice, and he basically followed her around, found out where she lived, what flights she took, where she was performing. He once followed her for like 2 weeks straight, I think, between Korea, Japan, China, places like that, and tried to get in contact with her. And what's interesting is that the K-pop group members, like women mostly, they tend to sort of take the stalker side on these because they don't want to be portrayed as a bad person in media, because they want to provide a positive image. So often when there's a case about stuff like this, they usually just go with an out-of-court settlement and provide some sort of apology or something like this.
Yep.
They don't want to criminalize the people who have been stalking them.
It's a Korean thing and an East Asian thing. They don't like controversy, especially women. There's a very sort of established image of what they're supposed to be like, what they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to get involved in and address and all that. And you know, I mean, I think it's mostly a cultural thing.
Yeah, because Korea has a very hierarchical society. I don't know how to pronounce that properly, but basically, like if you boss, that there have been actual plane crashes because of this. There was a plane crash that was there was a captain and a first officer on a plane. The first officer notices that there's something wrong with the plane, but doesn't tell the captain because in hierarchical um, society, you can't address somebody higher than you with
Hmm.
issues that
Yeah.
aren't your problem. So, Korean Air, which is actually voted many, many times the worst airline in the world, they have the most crashes, I think, of all airlines, most fatal crashes. It's because they have a hierarchical society and they can't, like, the first officer can't tell the captain about issues that are happening with the plane. They did
Yeah,
try
there's a
cracking
very
down on this, but
mm,
it's still practiced quite highly.
yeah, in all East Asian countries, there's a very strictly enforced sort of uh, cultural hierarchy, I guess. And for the K-pop stars, they are obviously industry plants, and their whole purpose is to please the Western audience. So they can't get involved in any sort of controversy. They're uh, straight up puppets of their managers, all that, and the government. So I think that's the reason why you don't hear a lot of drama actually coming from the K-pop stars. They're just supposed to smile and wave when they see shit going on that involves them. But the drama comes from the Western audience mostly because the K-pop stans or fans are probably the most notoriously insane, deranged, and degenerate fandom that there is. So I'm not surprised that that case happened.
Yeah, it was. It yeah. Basically, I just read the article on it, and I think it's kind of weird. Like, I would be more concerned if somebody's stalking you, but that's an East Asian thing. We were sort of sidetracking already from the conversation, so I'm proposing that we start a new topic.
Okay, what you want to talk about?
I actually have something interesting. So I was talking about the Finnish movie Dead Leaves earlier.
Yeah.
It's already been nominated for a lot of things. One of them is the Oscar Prize for Best International Movie. And there actually have been very, very high regards to this movie. It has been, it is one of the first ones. Well, it is the second Finnish movie that has made to the second round. So now there are, what was it? I think like 13 or 15 or something like that, movies, international movies that are currently competing for the prize. And Dead Leaves is one of them. It has also been nominated for lots of other stuff and won the jury awards at the Cannes um, movie festival when it came out. So, what do you think? Do you think it's going to get past the jury review of the Oscars, or do you think it will be stuck in that? Like,
Uh, I don't think it's gonna win, but I think it should. I think it would be absolutely deserved. And I mean, obviously, I'm biased towards my own country, but it's an excellent movie. I've seen it. It's fantastic.
yeah, it is. It is a really good movie. Um, and talking about that, the only Finnish movie that has won an Oscar in any way
Mm,
is Fanny and Alexander. Um,
yeah.
And I don't really like the movie. I don't think it's that good, but it obviously
I
won an
haven't seen it.
Oscar, so
I
people.
haven't seen it. I'm a kind of a film buff, but I don't watch local movies. But
Well,
Kallis Mäki
it's
is just a
technically not
whole other deal.
local. It's technically not local. The um producer was Jörn Donner, who is a Finnish Swedish person, but the director was Ingmar Bergman, who is very much Swedish, and the movie was actually
Okay.
awarded as a Swedish movie. So in that way, we didn't win the Oscar, but since it was presented to Mr. Donner, a Finnish person, it was considered a win for the Finnish.
Yeah, it's still a win for Finland in my books, but I don't know. It's a weird thing. Most of our most famous or respected kind of artists or celebrities from Finland are actually Swedish or half Swedish or whatever. When you think of people like Tove Jansson, they are regarded as like local cultural heroes almost here, and these are the people that at least Finnish people think to when they think about like internationally significant Finns, and it's always a Swedish person. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, it is definitely always Swedish who gets the award. Well, I mean, I don't know why Sweden is doing so much better than us. I mean, obviously the architecture of Sweden is absolutely horrid and their interior design is not that good. Finnish interior
Mm.
design, in my opinion, as a sort of person who is interested in architecture and interior design, I have to say I love Finnish architecture, how modern it has always been, like from the 1920s up until like now. Obviously, Alvar Aalto was a big revolutionary in this. His designs are very amazing, but
I
like,
don't like modernity actually that
well,
much. I want to
that's
return to monkey. The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster to the human race. Also, I think Gamla Stan is absolutely gorgeous.
yeah, Gamla Stan is beautiful. Like, okay, so what I like 1700s, well, let's say 1600s to 1800s architecture, which is basically classical, Baroque, revival, Renaissance, that kind of architecture. But when you get to the 19th
Yeah, that's fair.
century,
Yeah, yeah,
20th century, stuff like that, it sucks absolutely. I hate Germany. It is really ugly, in my opinion, because
yeah. You're
the
right.
majority of Germany was built in the 20th century.
Yeah,
Uh, and But places like Vienna, places like Rome, uh, some places in Greece, they're beautiful because they have classical old architecture. But I like Finland because
yeah.
they have modern architecture. Like if you go to
That's
Helsinki,
true.
you will see old buildings from the 1800s or the 1700s, but you will also see new buildings from like the 2000s, 2010s. I think both of those are beautiful, and seeing them next to
Yeah,
each other
maybe. Yeah,
is sort of
I love
conflicting.
antique architecture, but Greece is a weird story because it's desperately clinging on to whatever connection it might have to the antique days. It's a country in ruin, and it's largely very ugly. But they keep the cool antique shit around to sort of save the perception that people have of them.
Well, my friend who goes to Greece at least once a year, he has said that basically Athens is like the Baltimore, or in Finnish terms, Kouvola of Greece. And while they may have nice architecture, old buildings, like very old buildings, I'm talking antique buildings from like I don't know how old. They also have really ugly architecture, and it
Yeah.
smells apparently quite bad. And
Hmm.
there are a lot of pickpockets, robbers, stuff like that. Um, and it isn't a nice place.
It's an
But
absolutely horrid country.
it is actually. When I went to Rhodes, I was I was like entranced. I thought I was going to be seeing olive plantations and fucking
Hmm.
beautiful rolling hills and old architecture and monasteries and stuff like that. Instead, I saw a bunch of new buildings like put next to each other, some unfinished, some not unfinished, some being fucking reclaimed by nature and shit. Um, like it was sort of Mediterranean in a way, but it is ugly because they're just basically boxes with vibrant colors. It doesn't make them aesthetically pleasing, and it also smelled really bad, probably because the plumbing that they have is from the fucking antique ages and doesn't really
Yep.
work that well.
Yeah. It's a horrible country. Very ugly. Smells horrible. It's in desolation. It's falling apart. But they keep the some of the temples and statues to sort of keep up a front. Oh, it's so beautiful here. It's been ruined. Greece hasn't been good for a long while.
Yeah, no, it hasn't. People only go there because it's the tourist hub of Europe. It's warm during summer. It's cheap to go to, and accommodation is usually pretty cheap. The beaches are beautiful, but it is a very low tier country in my opinion. They are very dependent on Germany and France, um, and tourism. Obviously, if nobody stopped coming to, like, I mean, sorry, if everybody stopped going to Greece, they would be bankrupt in 2 seconds.
Hmm. Yeah, they are in economic or economical. I still don't know the difference, but ruin and debt and all that. Country is falling apart practically.
Yeah. If you want a good country to go to for a vacation, um, I would say you should go to Spain, or
Yeah,
it's either Spain, the very southern coast of France, or northern Italy. That are the places that I can go to in Europe for
yeah, I
vacation.
agree. Yeah, yeah, I'd love to go
London,
to Italy.
London,
I haven't been.
Zurich, Stockholm, sorry, Tallinn, maybe for like a weekend, but um, I was in London for 6 days, and while it was pretty great, I feel like there's no real correct amount of time that you have to spend in London to be able to see everything. Because we were there for 6 days and we managed to go to like 3 or 4 different places around London, and there was nothing special about it after you see like the London Eye, the Big Ben, uh,
Yeah,
Tower Bridge, stuff like that. After you see all of those, it's done. London is no longer interesting. I mean, sure, there are clubs and stuff like that, but it's just a big city in the same way as New York. Once you've seen Empire State Building, it's just a normal city.
yeah. London is kind of the same as Greece. It doesn't really have much to offer apart from the occasional attraction that's kept there to drive tourism. The reality is always much more disappointing. There aren't a lot of places that live up to the reputation that they want to have, like travel destinations. I think Finland is uh is a good travel destination for the sole purpose that we don't pretend to be any better than we actually are. We are mediocre, and we admit that we are mediocre. You're not going to be disappointed.
According to that description, the best travel location would be Miami, Florida, because they always advertise about how Florida man did something.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
are they're commonly regarded as a very travel destination. There's nothing interesting really in Miami,
Yeah, but
even.
Miami is still very romanticized,
Yeah, it
and
is.
the Florida man thing is kind of part of that. People want to go there to see the craziness, and it's not all that. There are actually normal people in Florida. I discovered this recently. It was surprising.
Yeah, my mom wants to go to Miami for some. Um, the reason is because Rennie Harlan,
Yeah.
A movie producer who was famous in around the 80s and 90s lives there, and my mom has been watching his the show about his life, basically, which I think is really boring and just celebrity chasing. There's nothing interesting about the man or the show or his personal life. But yeah, my
Yeah,
mom
might
wants to
be.
go to Miami because he lives there.
What if she wants to like go see him? What?
I don't fucking know what her reasons for it is.
That's weird.
She
That's
she
weird, you
is
know.
she's very commercial based person. If she sees a commercial about like new vaginal pads or anything really, a new vacuum, she will want to buy it. She's very prone to advertising.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, I know, right? Um I was showing her a random thing of mine. I think it might have been like my keyboard or something like that, and she said, "Oh, that's lovely." I was like, "Isn't that too much of a reaction for me showing you something stupid and small and meaningless like this?" She was like, "No, that's a normal reaction." But um, yeah, I don't think it really is. It's so weird how some people are really just prone to advertising.
It's the dangers and depravities of consumerism, modern consumerism. People
Yeah,
are brainwashed, but I still don't get why she would want to travel to somewhere because a famous person lives there. If she's not gonna meet him, is it just you're gonna go there and then she's gonna be like, yeah, nice. He lives here somewhere. Nice to be around his aura, his fucking metaphysical energy. I can really feel it. What's the point? What do you get out of that?
yeah. Okay, here's something. Another random topic that I just picked up because I was reading Housing in Sanomat is
Yep.
a man was visiting Cuba and sent 45 euros to his daughter who lives in Finland apparently, and um the bank closed his bank account and um, hasn't paid the daughter a single cent of that money, and the assets were frozen because it was very suspicious for him to try to send 45 euros from Cuba to his daughter in Finland. And I find this kind of stupid because
Yeah.
so my mom lost her bank card one time or a credit
Uh-huh.
card, whatever. Um, and she tried desperately to close it, but the bank refused to close it because there was some like detail, like she didn't remember the CVV code on the back or something like that, and they couldn't close the card because she didn't have the card. And I find that
Oh,
fucking stupid because they close a card because somebody tries to send their daughter 45 euros from Cuba, but they don't close my mom's card because she actually lost it.
yeah. I mean, banks just suck.
Banks really do
They're
suck.
very hard to deal with. They don't function internationally. There's really a lack of sort of organization when it gets to that. They're not prepared to usually to deal with customer complaints in the way that they should. I don't know what it is about. I guess there's a very high standard of security for them, so they just can't help you basically. But it sucks. Banks are very impractical.
Yeah. Do you have any topics for us for now?
Hold on. There's something that I wanted to bring up just quickly, and that apparently I read a study that this in regards to Christmas time, the lovely festivities. Apparently, the risk of penile fractures rises exponentially on Christmas for some reason.
Oh yeah, I
Doctors,
read about that.
yeah, doctors don't know why that is.
I think the study was conducted in Germany. And
Oh,
yeah, it was conducted in Germany, and it was like study said that during Christmas time, expressly, which is like the 23rd, 24th, and 25th, there are more penile breakings. But as the end of the year approaches towards New Year's, the amount of penile fractures go down.
That's crazy.
What the fuck
That's
is the
crazy.
reasoning for this? There's
I don't
absolutely
know.
no reason.
I don't know, like people are fucking aggressively, or they're slipping and falling during shopping and hitting their dicks on a fucking metal pole. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some
Also,
other reason.
it's pretty easy to count. Like, I really don't understand, because like there's this thing where during Christmas, if you masturbate, you will feel more sad about it, and it was like somehow sort of half clinically proven that this is true, that if you masturbate during Christmas time, you do actually feel a lesser amount of dopamine. I wonder if
Yeah,
doing
that's a good
sexual
point.
intercourse is like the
Yeah,
opposite.
that's an excellent point. It might be related because I have that. I've
Yeah,
definitely felt that Christmas guilt after choking the chicken,
yeah, there's a guilt.
stuffing the turkey. Yeah, it's definitely
There's
there.
definitely a guilt involved
Yeah,
in
so maybe I don't know. Maybe people are punishing themselves while jerking it. Like going out. Oh, fucker! It's a form of self-harm, maybe.
Yeah, but like if during intercourse you just get mad, oh my god, I'm fucking on Christmas. This is deplorable, and you just start doing it harder for absolutely no fucking reason because like, oh fuck no, and then you just
Maybe it's the woman.
break your fucking
Maybe she
penis.
feels guilty, so she kind of squeezes the muscles.
Fucking vaginal muscles go tighter during
And
Christmas
that shit
time.
is strong.
Our podcast is gonna get so fucking canceled after this episode.
No, not cancelled, but maybe demonetized. I'm getting the royalties from this shit.
Either way, it shows that we have 5 more minutes of this. So I think it's
So we
time
just
to
close it
say
off.
our goodbyes for
Yeah.
now. Unfortunately, Dirwest could not be a part of the majority of this podcast because he had some personal things to attend to, but we're very glad to have had him in the first portion.
The first 20 seconds.
Well, today's podcast was quite winged off, but I'd say we had some nice conversations. How about you?
Yeah, excellent episode. Dirwest is going to be back for next time. We're probably going to have a guest on and reveal too much about that, but it's going to be crazy next episode. This was a good one, good conversation, and happy holidays to everyone also.
Yeah, happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah, except the Jews. I'm going to cut that out.
Yeah, the Jews.
Yeah, especially the Jews. Happy Hanukkah, all that shit.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah. Happy nothing to Muslim people.
Happy nothing. Yeah, that's it.
All right. I think that was today's episode.
Yeah, that's it. See you guys next time.